Hello guys, I just wanted to show you my homemade powerhone I made for graver sharpening. As you can see, it runs at a fixed speed of 180 RPM and can go clockwise, but if I desire so I can also let it run anti-clockwise. I also made a jig to hold the graver and set the angles correctly. I'll explain this one later on in the video. Once the angles are set, I just start sharpening the gravers. I usually take it off the tool post to check how far I have been going with the grinding. The ring on the tool post just holds the whole contraption up so I can set the angles correctly without having to use both hands. I use a digital protractor to set the angles. First I set it to 0 on the grinding discs, and then I set the angles on the jig just in relation to the grinding surface, so I'll always get the correct angles. You can set both the two-post angle and the sideways angle if you want a 120-degree graver or 90-degree graver. It's all possible with this. So next I will show you what's inside of it. The motor is a 24-volt windshield wiper motor from a truck. I have a flexible shaft coupling and two UCF 4-hole flank bearings which hold the drive shaft. In the back I mounted the 24-volt DC power supply. The nice things about these motors is that they come with plenty of torque at just the right speed. They go from about 50 to up to 320. I've seen different versions. So select one that runs at roughly 200 RPM and you're in the right ballpark. This way you don't have to deal with any pulleys to slow the motor down to the correct speed and can connect it directly to the drive shaft via the flexible shaft coupling. I'm using these cheap Chinese diamond discs. They come in coarse grids, fine grids from 120 up to 3000. I get these off eBay, these are fairly cheap. Since these discs are fairly thin, I'm using an aluminium disc underneath it to provide some stability. It just sits right on the flank bearing, which is surprisingly flat and runs true. The diamond discs have a half-inch hole, whereas my shaft is only 12 millimeters, so there is a little bit of play when I put these discs on, but I found that is no problem at all. When I screw this down tight, it's not moving in any direction, and when I turn the disc, I can hear the whole motor beginning to spin, so it's really a good connection. The nice thing about these windshield wiper motors is that they put out plenty of torque. You can barely stop it with your hands even if you press down really hard. I'll take off the disc so I don't grind away my fingers. If I just screw down, there's no connection, and I start it up. You can see I'm pressing down really hard. The disc is barely stopping. I can't get it to stop. Let's do the other direction. As you can see, I'm pressing on really hard and I can't stop this thing. So it's really overkill for graver sharpening. As you can see, there are no markings on the jig to set the angles. I'm using a bevel box instead. First I set this to 0 on the grinding disc, and then I can set the appropriate angles on the jig in relation to the grinding surface. So no matter what inconsistencies I have in my build, maybe my tool post is a little bit off 90 degrees or something like that. It just doesn't matter. With the bevel box, you feel compelled to set the angles to really accurately 0.01 degree, something like that. But as you can see, the bevel box is not reacting instantly on any changes. So it can get a little bit fiddly to set an exact 45.0 degree angle, something like that. So if anyone has a suggestion for a bevel box which will react instantly, this will make setting the angles much less fiddly. Please leave a comment if you have one. So now let me take this apart so you can see how I made this. The tool post is fairly self-explanatory. I used a 16mm steel shaft and have this little ring on there to hold it up in place when I set the angles, and I have just these shaft holder screwed to a metal plate, so it will sit on there when I set the angles. It's all held together by some of these set rings or something like that. Don't know how these are called. Let me take this apart. There are some O-rings in between which provide some friction so I can set the angles correctly without this thing falling down when I loosen the set screw. The main part is just some angle aluminum. I guess it was 8mm thick, and I drilled some holes in it for the set screws, tapped these and drilled them holes for the shaft. Since the bevel box will not stick to aluminum, I just glued on some thin steel plate to hold the bevel box when I set the angles. The part that holds the graver is just the same. I set it up so it can take my 3mm blanks. You have to grind it a little flat on there, so when you put it in for resharpening, you will have some registration, and put it in the same way for resharpening. Again, I glued on some steel plates to hold the bevel box when I set the angles. Since both surfaces are parallel to each other, I don't have to take out the graver. When I finish sharpening the heel, I just flip it 180 degrees and grind the face. The part that goes on the tool post is just a linear bearing. It comes with mounting holes already pre-threaded, so I just attached a little piece of wood and glued in the axle. That's about all there is. I used the tubing because I had it. What I like about these linear bearings is that they had no play at all. When these slide on the tool post, they slide very easily, and they're absolutely rock solid. And when you put it all together, there's no play at all. They slide up and down, left and right, and it's really smooth. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. This is how I done my powerhone for graver sharpening. Thanks for watching.